What is up, everybody? Solomon here. Super excited to be with Genfinity. We are interviewing a multitude of projects across Web3. Today, we are excited to be getting into marrying blockchain and green aviation. Super excited to have Kepler Digitals with us today. Yannick, Pierre from Galileo Protocol, and then two newly onboarded kind of senior advisor roles with some specific roles within Kepler Digitals as well, which is Virginie Vacca and Julien Dersey. That being said, I always like to start these off since we have two new guests that we've never had on today with a little bit of an intro and a background. So Virginie, I would love if you could maybe start with an introduction of yourself. That'd be fantastic.
Sure, with pleasure. Thanks for having us. So I have a traditional finance background with a lot of exposure to tech sectors from aerospace and defense to travel IT and fintech, notably at Amadeus, where I met Yannick and had the pleasure to work with him as well as another senior advisor to the team, John Jarrett. And with all this experience, at some point, it was completely natural for me to embrace blockchain and digital assets, both as a new asset class and as a game changer, I think, not only for traditional finance, but also for aviation and all things around us, pretty much.
That's awesome. Thank you. And then, Julien, if you could maybe just give us an intro of yourself, a little bit of an overview about your history, that'd be fantastic.
Thanks, Solomon. So I'm Julien Dersey. So I've started recently in the startup world about a year ago, working for a company called Atom where I'm the chief product officer. But prior to that, I spent 14 years at Amadeus, where I met Yannick. And Yannick and I actually were kind of the founders of a new business unit in Amadeus called Airport IT, which we literally built from scratch and has been very successful. So I reached out initially to Yannick asking for his help, and actually he said to me, no, I need your help. So this is how it came about. And the other thing that Yannick had not realized is in between my Amadeus world and working for the startup is I also worked for Inmarsat satellite company as the head of their products across the entire product portfolio, which included aviation. And I also worked 5 years at Amazon core marketplace. So I've got a ton of marketplace experience. And also, when I was working for Amadeus, my wife and I were running an e-commerce site for about 3 years, where we grew the activity 300% in 3 years. So a lot of e-commerce background, and I'm really, really excited to join Kepler and blockchain because I think there's a ton of stuff we can do, not only on the marketplace side of things, but also on the technology. I mean, my background is engineering from École Polytechnique in Paris, and software engineering and delivering products in that space. So really excited.
Awesome. Thank you. And Yannick, I mean, I would love if you can maybe just give I know we've done a couple of these podcasts with you guys, but just a brief intro of yourself. And then if you could just talk a little bit about onboarding of Julien and Virginie before we dig into the weeds with everybody here, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, with pleasure. So I'm Yannick Beunardeau. I'm the CEO of Kepler Digitals. My background is purely about aviation, so all types of technologies around aviation. I started very, very early in that space. So what I often say that I was injected the aviation DNA when I was a kid. So therefore, it was natural for me to work in that space from very early in my career. So I studied aviation engineering. My specialty is to build aircraft. I worked for Dassault Aviation in the past. I worked for the maintenance department of Air France on the Boeing 737 and 747. So therefore, then after I went to airport operations, and then I was thinking, okay, so in IT we have to do things because it was a little bit scattered around the type of IT that I was using as an operator. What we call a station manager for Air France. And when I joined Amadeus, actually, I saw so many possibilities to take advantage of. And then, as Julien said, 2 decades after, Amadeus gave a chance to create a diversification named Airport IT, and taking that thing from scratch and building up the case, defending the case towards the excom of Amadeus until green light in 2012. This is where John Jarrell, that you know as well because he's been on stage, joined us, and we started a wonderful adventure. So it's about passion. Kepler Digital is about passion. Then my son became man, and he went before me into the Web 3.0 space, created Galileo protocol, and I learned so much about this I didn't know actually. This is very rewarding for a father to see your kid and to see what he can do with things that you don't know. So therefore, okay, so can we do something? And he asked, Dad, do you have some use cases in aviation about the technology I'm deploying for Galileo? I spent some nights thinking about this instead of sleeping. Or sleeping about this, if we can say, taking note. And yes, basically in May, we created a white paper. We started to talk around us. And now I'm so privileged to have my previous colleagues working with me and friends. Before all, we are friends. And so for me, this is a big pleasure to onboard Julien and Virginie in this case. After we onboarded in the past John, Braden Nilsson, and others that are joining us. So this is a big pleasure, a privilege, and when you know the experience they bring to the party, also it cannot start better. This is really aviation. The expertise is something, but now when you add decentralized finance and all the IT that experience and the marketplace experience that Julien is coming with, I think this is like a dream team, I can say. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you, Yannick. And then Pierre, just a brief intro of yourself and thoughts on kind of all the senior advisor / onboarding within Kepler as well, because I know that there's obviously tie-overs between Galileo and Kepler.
Absolutely, thank you. Very happy to be there with you all. So my name is Pierre, founder of Galileo Protocol, the CEO of the company. We are creating an ecosystem that aim to redefine luxury asset management, but valuation also as well. Our targets are from the B2B side, the luxury brand, and from the B2C side, the crypto users, but also the luxury buyers. Our goal is to transform the way brands and consumers interact with valuable assets through the blockchain. And within Galileo, so we have a strong conviction is like every luxury asset deserves a new level of traceability, authenticity, but also accessibility and liquidity also as well. And that's why we are building a fintech platform in which we are connecting the dots. And yeah, that's it for my intro.
Awesome, thank you. So I definitely want to get a little bit more into the weeds with you, Julien, and you, Virginie. So thinking about kind of all the experience that you guys have in your previous roles, and Virginie, by the way, I was looking at your LinkedIn. You're super active as far as all the blockchain posts, which is really cool. It's like in-depth analysis of where Ethereum and Bitcoin are at. But can you talk a little bit, and maybe I'll start with you, Julien, about how your previous role has kind of shaped your ability within the tech sector to kind of look at what's going on in Web3 and blockchain and kind of take it a step further with Kepler?
Yeah, past experience, essentially what I see with blockchain is we can enable businesses to move a ton faster rather than get rid of all the old-fashioned way, manual way of validating, certifying parts and people and transactions and so on. So it's once you tokenize these things into a blockchain, it becomes a digital token. And when you do things digitally, you can do things in a much faster way. But it's not just about transforming, doing something just faster, do what you've always done. It's actually thinking about new use cases, because now you can go much faster. How can you do things differently? How can you enable new businesses? Let me give you an example. When we did airport IT, we completely revolutionized the space. So airports, they would big capex projects, build an airport, build a data center, put servers in the data center and things. And we came along and say, you know what? You don't need to put any servers in your data center. You can just have everything sort of remotely SaaS, software as a service. And what that meant, traditionally, an airline to fly to an airport, they have to bring in the network, they have to deploy their equipment. There's a ton of things. So it takes an airline on average 6 months to just fly to an airport. We came along and say, we deployed our first solutions in Innsbruck Airport. Finnair reached out to us and say, hey, what do I need to do? I said, well, just come and I'll enable you. You'll be enabled within the hour. That's the paradigm change that we enabled airports to do. Now, that paradigm change is not easy to achieve because you talk to an airport and they say, yeah, but I built a data center. I need to put pizza boxes in there with flashing lights. So you have to find those airports that are, initially, we had to find the airports that were ready to adopt the new technology and start bringing new use cases. So it meant I've noticed Amadeus enable off-airport checking during the Tokyo Olympics and during COVID and this kind of thing. So a whole lot of use cases that were not possible before. Blockchain will do exactly the same thing, but it will have the same difficulty in getting adoption for blockchain. And I think what Yannick's approach to go for the new upcoming, go for the green aviation, the electrics, these guys are not encumbered by legacy ways of doing things, and they can help to show aviation how we can do things differently using blockchain. So that's kind of experience that's what I'm going to bring. And my Amazon experience brought me a ton of discipline and how to look at the customer. Everyone's heard of working backwards from the customer. That kind of discipline it's very simple, but it's very useful and it's very important.
100%. No, I think it's I've done enough of these interviews to talk to a lot of people that have kind of been in traditional enterprise and finance, and you look at the kind of the institutions that have been in place for decades and decades and Yannick, you talked about this last time too, almost like band-aids on top of band-aids on top of band-aids to get their systems kind of operating. And they're basically sailing gigantic ocean vessels. But when you think about upcoming use cases, they're basically, startups have the ability to almost operate like speedboats and pivot and do all the things that you need to pivot very quickly. And I think it'll be really interesting. And you bring that up for Yannick kind of tackling after new use cases. Virginie, I would love if you can maybe just touch base. Same question for you. I mean, previous roles and experience shaping your ability to contribute into the innovation of Web3 and in particular with Kepler.
Yeah, well, I went briefly through that earlier. First, it was my traditional finance background. I began my career in a subsidiary of Airbus, which was very specialized in military intelligence. So I can see a lot of these drones development now emerging in the civil space with eVTOLs, which is one of the segments we are looking at now. Then in my years in finance, I got to cover some of these players and also airlines. So I know how they work, and I totally concur with what Julien said about this evolution there. When I think about the aviation industry, when you think about it, it started pretty much in the 20s. They developed all their costly IT in the late 50s. And from there, it took them almost 60 years to make the move to software as a service and get rid of these hefty fixed costs. And that was long and tedious. And they achieved that only recently, actually during my tenure at Amadeus. So we're talking about the past 5 to 10 years. I heard a lot about this, and they achieved it. And today, most of the critical systems even are delivered as software as a service. And now what I'm looking at is a new segment, eVTOL, the new commercial aviation. And when I listen to the likes of Lilium, I can see that they really have a bright future ahead of them, especially when you think about batteries, incremental improvements year after year. I think by 2050, we'll be able to maybe fly 20 to 30 people airplanes within Europe, full electric. And these segments don't have all the legacy systems that Julien mentioned. So they have the opportunity to go full blockchain, which I would call it blockchain as a service, with the same benefits as software as a service, and the added benefits of the blockchain, which is the capacity typically to create a tamper-proof compliant audit trail, as well as deliver all the sustainability reporting that is now required. And on that, I think they can save many years compared to traditional aviation.
Yeah, I think you're getting. I love it because I know you're kind of getting into my next question here, which is market opportunity for blockchain and aviation. And I guess, taking it out to 2050, and I mean, even looking at kind of the green initiatives that are going on globally, we see within all these institutions, there's like benchmark dates for 2025 and then 2030 and certainly 2050. But I guess I'm kind of curious, and anybody can kind of take this as far as what are some of the very short-term opportunities that may exist within, kind of leveraging blockchain for aviation, whatever it may be. I mean, even if it's going down to like ticketing and luggage and all the other stuff that comes along with it.
Maybe I can start. If you want, you've got the short term and the longer term. So short term, I see two major opportunities. So first of all, to be ready for the emergence and the steep start of the electric aviation, as we just said. So the flyability of the aircraft are being certified now. So the first aircraft to fly will be in 2025, and 2026 you will have the growth of this industry, double digit or triple digit very quickly. You've got a lot of O&M, so the original equipment manufacturers, the aircraft manufacturer. In the US, you've got two famous like Joby and Archer. In Asia, they have Supernal. In Europe, Lilium, Volocopter, Archer, and others. So they need the right technology from day one, and this is the opportunity we are talking about. By the way, the MVP that we are doing at the moment with Dragonfly Pad is a mini eVTOL that we tokenize with a VertiPad. So basically, we get ready for that. The second thing is in the very short term is to combat what becomes really an issue today. And will become more an issue if we don't tackle it correctly. This is the authenticity of what you have around an aircraft and what to mount on an aircraft. I don't want to say, look at what happens to the bigger manufacturer, but we all know that we have issues of this nature in Boeing and most probably in Airbus. So just to make sure you can trace what is mounted on an aircraft. So in classical aviation, you have to do something. So this is for the parts concerning in the short term, the diplomas, the degrees, everything, in France or in Europe, in Germany. I was talking to a German lady yesterday. You can find wrong doctors, medical doctors who pretend to be and they are not. So when you hire in peak time in summer 40,000 people in France to take care of the aircraft coming during summertime, and you say, okay, where is your diploma? They show a diploma, a paper. All right, okay, so a paper. I can do a paper on Photoshop in my PC. But then after this paper, you need to push back a 747 with a tow bar. It's not a Caravan that you push back. It's an aircraft with 400 people inside. So we can help sorting out things today that are not anymore able to take care of manually, semi-manually, even with the current IT systems. So this is for the short term, and if you want, I can elaborate zillions of examples of this nature. On the long term, if you take the pie itself, so today we have the number of people transported every year. It's 4 billion. So 40% of the worldwide population is 10 billion. So 4 billion being transported by air every year. So this is of course, not everybody is transported by air, but some people are transported several times. But 4 billion passengers, it's a chunky volume. But in 2040, the forecast is 40 billion. The forecast is 8 billion. Excuse me, I was getting too excited. In 2040, the forecast is 8 billion. So you multiply by 2 what we do today. So today, if we have issues to sort out, in 2040, the issue with more than double. So I think the pie is growing exponentially. And you add to that, in 2040, the new aviation piling up on top. So actually, the number of use cases, the number of things to sort out, thanks to blockchain, is demultiplying. So actually, it's nearly like a mission what we do. I hope some other people will join us. I want some colleagues, I want some competitors, because of course Kepler, I'm happy here to be with you, with the team, and say, okay, we are the first one addressing this, but are we enough? No, we are not enough. We need more, more of these blockchain aviation companies in the space. So yes, short term, long term, you see that well, so there is actually the opportunity is just giant, and this is here. We are here to start it, to open the door, and to embrace that with our two arms, the bull by the horns, as we say, and move on. Yeah. So we did it because we didn't know it was impossible. So I like that word. No? So this is what we did when we started Airport IT. Airport IT in the cloud. We did it because we didn't know it was impossible. Everybody was telling us, no, not possible. It will not work because people, they want to have their servers in the airport. Okay, so let's try it. And we did it.
Virginie, I thought you had your mic unmuted. I didn't know if you had anything to add on that. And if not, I can move on.
No, totally, completely agree with Yannick. I think for 2030, just for the eVTOL industry, we are looking at 40 billion-ish market size per year, which is not small, and a lot of this will be in IT, of course.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, and we don't have to go down this rabbit hole, but all three of you guys were kind of obviously have experience with being at Amadeus, and I think I even look at kind of my experience in project management back in the day, where like there's these systems that are like ERP systems, or like the enterprise resource planning stuff, or the customer relationship management stuff, and they seem to tie in all sorts of stuff. And like one thing that always stuck out to me, no matter where I was at, is that it's almost like, yeah, this system might work really good for this one thing, but the entire company's functions don't work good using this system, but we're kind of forced to use it anyways. So I think that's just interesting, where it's like, eliminating some of the red tape, overhead, and streamlining some of these systems. But Virginie, I know that you are pretty passionate about kind of some of the DeFi aspects going on as well. And I'm curious what you thought, or what your thoughts are for kind of the future of DeFi, and where we're kind of at right now, and what this is going to look like maybe a handful of years from now, just in a broader sense, and then maybe even from the realm of Kepler, if you wanted to maybe just
sure. That's a great question. I've seen DeFi emerging really in 2021, what we call the DeFi summer. That's really what caught my attention. I think since then it's grown exponentially. What it aims to achieve is an open financial system where users regain control of their assets. And of course, I wouldn't call it democratization of finance, because as of today, it's still a little bit complicated to achieve. When you get there, you discover a world of possible, and there is what you call DeFi Legos. I mean, like once you have your assets, whether stable coins, Ether, Bitcoins, tokenized stuff, you can put them as a collateral anywhere, borrow other things, put these other things wherever there is a better return. And there are tons of blockchains out there today. Some serve returns up to 20, 30, 30%. Sometimes you're even paid to borrow. So this is a market where if you keep yourself informed, there are tons of opportunity, and everything can be achieved at self-custody, which is great. Now, getting perhaps closer to what interests us today, there is a tokenization part, with Julien already mentioned earlier. What DeFi already does is to bridge traditional finance and blockchain by bringing a number of real assets on chain, whether commodities, treasury bills, real estate shares, whatever, today's spare parts, diplomas, and anything can be put on chain in a sense. And from the moment it's on chain, it has the same features as any other digital asset, meaning it's more accessible, it's more easily tradable, it's liquid, in general, can be exchanged, collateralized, and the world of possibles is almost infinite. You can see the big institutionals like BlackRock are already on it. And he has an entire fund, Bedell, specifically on treasury bills, that many other players deeply invested in that space.
100%. I mean, once the BlackRocks of the world are managing tokenized funds, it's kind of like the cat's out of the bag. And even when we think about real world assets, like one thing that's fascinating to me is just like even just data, thinking about the fragmentation of data that exists right now and what it's going to look like, even what the value of that data is once you can actually get eyes on it and you have transparency and you have the provenance of bringing it on chain. Julien, I wanted to ask you, kind of coming from traditional tech industry, even like looking at the internet and things like that, like this stuff doesn't get adopted overnight. But I'm curious from your standpoint, being around different layers of kind of technology across the board, do you see synergies with kind of what's going on with blockchain right now, in comparison to kind of what happened with the tech industry for digitization or moving to the cloud or the internet itself? Like, where do you kind of see the synergies there with what's going on with distributed ledger?
Yeah, I mean, it's like in all technologies, it swings between, so we've gone through massive sort of stuff doing stuff in the cloud, and everything is centralized in the cloud. Now with blockchain, you can take that out of the cloud and you can start doing things locally. You can create your tokens, you can hand over your tokens. You no longer are dependent on that central location for everything. So it really is that sort of that shift, that paradigm shift, and it is a paradigm shift. It's very difficult to absorb. So you can see some abuse, but you can see all the potential and what that brings. So I'm really just only starting to scratch the surface. I mean, every time I go into a new technology, I quickly realize, okay, here are the new possibilities, and so that's what we only just started with Kepler, and I know that we will discover new things that we can do with that. So let's talk about data, where you go, the value of data. So that's also a big issue. Everyone is nervous when you talk about data, and when we were working for Amadeus and Airport IT, we were constantly thinking, how can we make airports more efficient using the airline data? And the airlines were like, no, that's my data. I don't want you to share it. So there was all these ownership situations. So, and one of the things that I was building when I was at Inmarsat is actually a platform to enable customers to open up their data to other suppliers who can then consume it and deliver them a service in return, and make all of that completely seamless and transparent and automated. Today, your data is trapped by all these companies that process, whether they're telco or booking agencies, etc. All your data is trapped in these silos, and yes, you can claim it's your data, and they can't use it, they can't sell it, and all of that stuff, but it's still trapped, and the value of your data is not being realized. So that's the other thing. I think with blockchain, we will be able to unlock all of that and enable people to generate and benefit from their data directly, and not be dependent on someone else being, thinking like I was doing. How can I make customers be able to benefit from their data and create a platform and all of this? Blockchain is the answer.
Yep. It almost seems, oh, sorry, go ahead. Was somebody going to go? I looked away for a second. I always find it kind of ironic that we talk about blockchain and Web3, and we've done so many of these podcasts, and at the end of the day, we are on the most Web2 platform ever doing a podcast, which is like Twitter, right? And Twitter's free to use for users for a reason. If you don't know what's being sold, anybody using Twitter is basically the product. But I think whenever we start getting down to this kind of level playing field that we keep talking about within crypto and blockchain, I mean, I really do envision a future where we are appropriately kind of safeguarded from a privacy standpoint, but also we are appropriately kind of rewarded for how we choose to spend our time on which platforms, and what, our data becomes almost kind of a very valuable, value proposition. But yeah, I think you bring up a good point too, Julien, and you guys just starting with Kepler, and Yannick it seems to me that like when I look at what you guys are doing kind of at the onset here, that you've been able to onboard. This is super interesting to me, but like I think a big problem in crypto is we kind of see this recycled liquidity between ecosystems. We see a lot of competition between layer one networks and things like that. And at the end of the day, there's still a very, very much so mass populace that isn't here yet. And Yannick, from your guys' standpoint with Kepler, like onboarding traditional players that aren't necessarily in blockchain at all right now, but are now interested. What's that kind of been like? What's your experience? Can you maybe just talk a little bit about that? That'd be great.
Yeah. Actually, what all these new players coming to blockchain, and I am one of them. Julien, Virginie was used to that, but Julien is new. John is new as well. Breda is new as well. So actually, we have an opportunity to explain to people who were working traditionally with us how things can be different. And even in investors, so investors, we need to remember that 1/3 of our investors are completely new to blockchain. They never dared before. So their word is always, I always wanted, but I never dared. Because I was not sure. I didn't know what it was. So it's so mysterious, so full of rumors, what's happening there, and so step by step they got comfortable because there is a purpose that resonates in their heads. So aviation for most of them is resonating. They take aircraft. They know what we want to solve that I was describing before. So they decided, okay, so yeah, I'm going to cross the bridge and invest in the ICO of Kepler Digitals. So I'm super happy about that because there are newcomers, fresh air, fresh blood, and it's not only my generation. My generation, of course, could have done that before because I'm senior, as we say. But young people came as well. So the daughters, the sisters, the kids of people who came with me also decided to invest in, and they never did before. They didn't know what it was. So all that, I think, is creating fresh air because we are here to solve a problem. See what real world asset is about. We solve a real problem, real world asset problem. So my experience is positive to that, and I must say it's just a start because things that I cannot say right now are going to be before the end of the year. I cross fingers, signed with real industry players. So I'm a little. I feel privileged to have opened that door. Humble as well because it looks like it's a big enthusiasm, and I don't want to disappoint these people who are trusting in this new era. But I think that with the team that we are building, it's a strong team. It's a team who showed result in the past, who made businesses starting from scratch and becoming triple-digit million of euros revenue per year. So we have the same enthusiasm, the same, let's say, the same passion about this. So it will happen. We will make it. I'm sure. That's why. If not, I would not be here. I could be retired on the beach or growing my tomatoes. But no, I want to help aviation because, as I said at the beginning, this is the passion of my life. So, yes, I feel that there is still a purpose to do.
Julien brought up a really interesting point, and I want to get to you here, Pierre, in a second. But you bring up the point where, for true kind of innovation to occur, it has to happen within the right airport. It has to happen with the right X, Y, whatever it may be. And I've heard this so many times with kind of forward-thinking leadership. And I think it does play a role into the platforms too. Like there needs to be a level of kind of trust with platforms in and of themselves. So Pierre, I would love if you could maybe touch base on kind of the overlap between Galileo and Kepler and kind of what the initial representation is for overlap and kind of where you see the relationship going over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so with the tokenization platform and the software that we are building is like for brands, Galileo represents an entry point into an area of transparency and asset management, because we are enabling brands to create a digital passport, a digital certificate that track each asset. I think it will strengthen the customer trust, but also reduce losses linked to counterfeiting, but also enhance the overall purchase experience. And especially what we are developing also along with the tokenization platform is the integration of Galileo Pay that allow the brands to accept cryptocurrency as a form of payment, so they can diversify their payment methods and attract a younger generation, what we call a tech-savvy audience, eager for new purchasing experience. So the synergies that I see with Kepler is like, when you are imagining a journey with plane, we often think it's beginning at the airport, but in reality, it starts much earlier. And with Galileo and Kepler, we can rethink this journey, creating an integrated ecosystem where every steps provide an experience through the Web3. So it's all begins at home with the booking of the flight ticket. And thanks to Galileo Pay, for instance, it can become possible to buy your ticket with cryptocurrency. And then when you have your ticket, the next journey is through the airport, so via bus, the taxi, the rideshare, the bus. And once at the airport, the checking process takes place. So imagine digital tickets that ensure each passenger has a stress-free journey, knowing that their information is protected and easily verifiable. And then comes also the security checkpoints. And beyond the security checkpoints, you are entering a space where luxury is everywhere, with duty-free shops offering exclusive products. And this is where Galileo and its digital passport come into play, because travelers that are using the Kepler ecosystem can now also use the Galileo ecosystem. They can purchase luxury goods with cryptocurrency, and each purchase is followed by a digital passport also that guarantee, I repeat, the authenticity and the traceability. But the journey doesn't stop here also, because on board, Galileo and Kepler continue to support travelers. Glasses, perfume, watches, and other luxury items available on the plane can be purchased with the same benefit. So our strong belief with Yannick is like combining the two ecosystems, Galileo and Kepler, we can create a comprehensive and unique traveler journey experience with the Web3 technology.
Awesome. Oh, go ahead.
So something that maybe I should add to that. This is absolutely true. When we addressed airport IT or even airline IT with in Amadeus with Julien, there is one piece that we were not addressing, because it was even one step further. This is everything having to do with retail. 50% today of the airport, they get their money from retail. So retail is about going to a Gucci shop and get a bag, example. And then you need to have also a system that is empowering this Gucci bag with authenticity and everything. So here with Galileo, marketplace Galileo, payment of Galileo, authenticity of Galileo, you can address the retail side of it. If you think about the next income stream of airlines, or even current income stream of airlines, from some airlines are selling their tickets for free, nearly, and they get all their money from ancillary services or ancillary goods. So this is also a retail thing where you can play with Galileo. So I think this is the synergy. Luxury aviation looks a little bit apart, but at the end, no, because at the end, the customers, the people traveling on board, are also the one buying at the airport, and especially in the luxury shop. So this is one, of course, the B2C synergy, and we can also mentioning marketplace, and Julien can mention that better than me. But so therefore, the journey of the passenger can be air-oriented or retail-oriented, but at the end, the blockchain consumer will be the same person, the same identity. So if that person is a new generation used to do everything on blockchain in their daily life, there will be no problem. It's not because you take an aircraft that you need to stop everything you do in your life where you do blockchain. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm going to ask, I mean, from the marketplace standpoint, maybe just briefly, Julien, I'm curious your thoughts on the importance of user experience. Like, I think one of the kind of the gaps of adoption right now that we see across crypto and blockchain is that we haven't abstracted away kind of complexities around using blockchain or using a wallet or the user experience in general. And you have the experience, obviously, with these traditional marketplaces and things like that. Like, what are your thoughts kind of in the future as far as, what kind of level the ease of user experience needs to kind of be at for blockchain for users just to engage naturally in things that they're already doing?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people, in fact, for marketplace adoption, you need two things. One is, yes, the customer experience, but you also need to win customer trust. And so these two things are the two things which are getting in the way of blockchain adoption. Don't talk to users, tell them I'm using Avalanche. Okay. It means nothing to them. Okay. So what you need to do is tell the user, what does that mean, for my daily life? What does that? I mean, okay, it means I no longer need to be connected to an internet or this. It means we can do things. So you need to go back to what it means for their experience, and that's what at Amazon is what they call working backwards from the customer experience. So first thing you do is, what is it you're going to tell people, and that will resonate with them. And then work backwards from there. And the second thing is, how do you win customer trust? And that's also, I mean, when I was an email sat, there's thinking of going digital and selling digitally. And I said, look, if you want to win customer trust, don't start selling them the expensive satellite terminal for like $10,000. What you need to do is you get them used to transacting digitally. So go with small transactions, create high volumes, get people. And through the high volume also means that you're less tolerant to poor customer experience. So if you have a high asset value, like a satellite terminal for $10,000, you're prepared to spend a few hours trying to get through and maybe buy it. But if you're buying something at $1, you're not going to spend more than 1 second. So that's where it will push you to get your customer experience right. We'll push you to create lots of small transactions. People get used to the process, and then you can start to generate transaction volumes. And then you start selling more expensive items. If you go back to Amazon, what were they selling? They were selling books, not that expensive. And also in terms of trust, if you put my book in the post, that's fine. Now, if I buy a TV and you put it in the post, I'm not so sure. Okay, so that's why they knew they wanted to be the everything store from day one, but they started with books for practical because it is not perishable, and they started with the long tail, the books that bookstore could not put on their shelves because it was just too expensive. And so you could easily access those long tail items. But now, obviously, Amazon has all the latest popular books. Same with Netflix. Netflix started with the long tail. And they went through all the back catalog that studios could not put in Blockbuster because it was just too expensive. And that's how they eventually could kill Blockbuster. And they started, remember, Netflix started with DVDs in the post, and then they went to streaming. So that's why it's about winning the customer trust and also making sure you have good customer experience. If it's too difficult to find that one book that you're looking for, which is long tail, so it's not a very common thing. So it really forced Amazon and Netflix to have a very good customer experience and think backward from the customer. Why would I go there? And also sort of start growing that trust. And once you start buying a few books, I'm happy to buy an iPhone from Amazon. Totally. And that's the same thing we're going to have to do. We're not going to start saying we're going to sort out all your critical parts on the aeroplane day one. So I think some of the approach will have to be, small things helps the business, high volume transactions, the small things, and then we go. That's how I would grow a marketplace.
Yeah, it's super valuable insight. I really appreciate it. I do want to get into Yannick. Milestones, any announcements coming out of Kepler, and then Pierre will do the same thing for you, and then we'll kind of do a roundtable here with closing thoughts. But Yannick, milestones, announcements, would love if you could maybe share those with us.
Yeah, so that we are in the last week of the ICO. So the ICO ends on the 31st of October. So if people are interested to invest in the ICO, this is the last days that are available. Since the community is, I want them to be enthusiastic about this. So we give even a 10% more on the public sales that is going to be available at listing time on Uniswap, and a few weeks after at listing time on CEX, MEXSA. So these two things are on the ICO side. Our smart contract is being audited by the recognized company named Hacken. So we do use them, and this is going well. And we had to apply some of the recommendation they had, but this is normal, and that's why we hired them. So we are going to be ready technically by the 31st of October. Then standstill period until the 12th of November, where we do the listing on Uniswap. During that period, we are going to gather, we are going to mint the Avias, and prepare the big launch, the first listing. You will hear more about some marketing, some communication that is coming up. This is all that is on the blockchain side. On the industrial side, so we are moving on the MVPs. We have two. I just remind people. We have tokenization of diploma. So I saw this morning the first output of this project. I'm expecting this MVP to be live at the end of the year. So we still have some things to do, but it will be possible. So this one is a big use case because actually this is about the ground handling. As soon as we do this tokenization of diploma for the ground handling, I'm sure the other ground handlers will come and it will disseminate. So this is something which is quite important. We have another MVP with Dragonfly Pad, our second industrial customer. This one has started already, but it's more in the initial step compared to the diplomas. And we plan to be operationally ready by the end of the first quarter 2025. So these two MVPs. Other industrial agreements. I'm working on two big deals. I mentioned that a little bit before. One in the baggage area and the other one in eVTOL area. And this one will be a big splash of announcement, but we need to be patient a little bit because I'm not entitled to say anything at this stage. But this is going very well, and is going to be a big splash for the industry.
I want to ask Yannick just briefly, and if you had more, please. But just question from my end, like I think, even looking at some of the enterprise partnerships, what we see with layer ones and stuff like that, I think a lot of that comes down to like trust. It's like a trust building exercise. And I'm just curious from your standpoint, do you think that your history and experience within traditional aviation gives you kind of a leg up for getting into certain discussions rather than, let's say, I'm X, Y, and Z person. I just got into blockchain and crypto. I'm launching a crypto. I want to deal with aviation, and I'm going to start to reach out to all these entities. Do you think that you might have a little bit of a leg up compared to? I know that you said that we definitely need more innovators out there. I'm just curious from your opinion, like being able to get in a foot in the door.
Yeah. Do I use my network? Of course, I use my network. People know me. They know, since I've been ethical during all my career, and they know that what I'm saying is not bullshit. So because I do believe in it, from time to time I make mistakes like everybody. Yeah, but people are at least they want to try. This is what the type of energy that I try to pass. It's not for granted that it will work, but at least we will try. And let's do it. Let's try it, and at the small scale first, and then after let's show the world that it works, and then at the bigger stage. Of course, if in my experience, if I take in aviation, you've got a lot of players. So my experience is airlines, airport, ground handlers. These ones, of course, I'm working with them. I am contacted or I contact them. So this is already a lot of people. Yeah. So you have examples of some of them in the previous AMAs or even here. So we work together. So and the trust is present. I don't want to ruin my past with by saying wrong thing. As I said, I have everything to lose in Kepler. I could be enjoying the beach. So basically, when I try to convince, it's because I'm convinced myself that it could work. So I'm using my network definitely. So it's easier for me, definitely, to get into some areas which are less natural for me. Where, example, the aircraft manufacturer. I'm not talking about the eVTOLs. I'm talking about the big ones, the Boeings, the Airbuses. They are more difficult because I never worked with them. However, we come from school where we have colleagues who studied with us, who worked with them, and this is where you start to have entry doors indirectly. So you start to get some people who work at Boeing or at Airbus helping you as well. So this is easier for after 30 years of experience, definitely.
Yeah.
And this is maybe the, sorry, I'm long in explaining this, but this is maybe where my discovery is about Web 3.0. So here, this is where I need you guys, the super specialists of that, to know who is the best blockchain, the best way to address that, the PNFTs creation, all that. So, but the industrial side, the real world asset side of it, of this adventure, this is where we add value most, because we use our previous businesses that were successful, hopefully, so recognized as successful. And then they say, okay, so if it worked in the past, why not in the future? And they want to, they are adventurous as well. They want to see what it gives. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no, that's great. That was good. Great answer. Thank you. I appreciate it. Pierre, I would love if you could share. I know that you guys are, the last AMA that we did, you guys were deep in the trenches of working on the physical location. But Pierre, milestones and any updates that you guys have.
Yeah, absolutely. You made it right. So we are opening a physical office, which will be located in Bordeaux. So we are already in the office, and we will be welcoming 3 to 5 people between December and January. So very thrilled by this company culture that I want to create on site. From a marketplace perspective, so we are implementing a referral system. So all the users within the marketplace can decide to invite their friends and to be incentivized by this system. Very grateful also as well, because we had a wonderful marketplace performance over the past few days. There is an average basket of $280 on the marketplace, but we recently saw an order up to 11,000 USD on the marketplace. It was the most prominent purchase that even happened on the marketplace. We have also the staking platform. We have been taking a lot of time to develop it, and especially from the different tags that we saw within the crypto industry over the past few weeks. We have been leveraging Aken auditing skills in order to bulletproof the source code of the staking platform to make sure that the users will be highly confident in locking their asset onto the platform. So I remind that you need one Nebula as an entrance ticket to stake your Leox token, and you will be able to get some rewards, but also to participate into the governance of the protocol. At the same time, so we are developing Galileo Pay, like I was saying, that will allow the luxury brands to accept cryptocurrency as a form of payment and to auto-convert into euros, USD, francs Suisse automatically for their accounting purposes. We are developing also the very chain application. Maybe the name of this application will evolve, but that's to empower the businesses and the individuals to create the PNFT, or to tokenize their ownership titles. What else? We are going to visit also Eric Larchevêque in a few days from now. Eric Larchevêque is the ex-CEO of Ledger. We are going to drive into his private home, and we will have a 2 days workshop with him. So very interesting. Also as well, we had the chance also to meet the Vestiaire Collective team. So Vestiaire Collective is the go-to shopping platform for second-hand luxury product. So it was very interesting. I cannot disclose what we discussed, but it was very interesting to get their insight onto the development of the second-hand luxury market. The things that will happen also for Galileo is the fact that we are going to revamp the branding. We will have a new identity in terms of logo, website, pitch deck, social media, assets. and so on and so forth. And I think that's it for the milestone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pierre. Definitely want to kind of go roundtable here and ask everybody kind of just forward-looking statements, what you're excited about with the future, working with Kepler for the broader industry as well. And I'll start with Virginie. If you could maybe give us some forward-looking statements, what you're excited about, that'd be fantastic.
It's a pleasure. Well, I'm very excited to join this project. As I mentioned, a few people in there. I've had some very positive working experience with, and I know they can actually make things happen. I realize the project may sound ambitious, if not unrealistic, to some investors who would perhaps rather invest in a trading bot of the thought. But I've seen these people have done, building Amadeus Global Airport IT from the ground up. And it's today a very successful and mature business. So very positive on that. As for the project itself, it is, to my knowledge, going to be the first open aviation-wide community. Everything I've seen in the competition were essentially private blockchains, type Hyperledger, developed as bespoke for the needs of big players in this industry. And when I look at the emerging segments, such as eVTOL and drones, etc., we are talking small to medium-sized players. They can't go that road. So the idea to have this aviation-wide community with multiple use cases, benefits from the experience of Pierre in physical NFTs, and how these physical NFTs apply to simple objects like spare parts or diplomas, as well as complex, a lot more complex objects such as drone missions and many use cases we probably explore in the future. I see a lot of a potential network effects into going that route. And again, I think this project crystallizes a number of people who can really make this happen.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Virginie. Julien, forward-looking statements from you, sir.
So I'm really excited with Kepler, and because for me, my passion is to connect people, whether it's through transport, aviation, clearly, or communication. So when I was at Inmarsat, satellite communication is all about enabling people to connect wherever you are in the world. And I think we have an opportunity here to really enable the industry to become a lot more streamlined, a lot more accessible as well to many more people. And I think these electric eVTOLs and things, it's plugging a gap of short to medium range type aviation, which doesn't exist. It's going to create a new market, and that's what I'm excited to see. I mean, probably people may not be too excited to see lots of things flying overhead, but it really, I think that's what's going to happen. We're going to see a complete shift on how we consume that kind of transport. And I'm really, really excited that through Kepler, through blockchain, we can really revolutionize and enable it as well.
Pierre, any forward-looking statements from you?
Yeah, absolutely. So what excites me the most is about the future is the promise of where blockchain, crypto, Web3, real-world asset, tokenized real-world asset are no longer just concept, but become the foundation of which our economy and interaction rest. And I think blockchain is not just about a technological revolution, but it's also a philosophical revolution that was initiated by Satoshi Nakamoto. It's an opportunity to empower the individuals by eliminating the intermediaries, but also to reduce the reliance on institutions and giving the people control over their data and value. So I think we are just scratching the surface for now, because beyond speculation, crypto provide a tangible alternative to traditional finance system, enabling instant payment, reduce fees, and allow accessibility. Also, we are talking about to bank, the end bank. And I can see that the adoption is accelerating every day, and especially with the big players such as BlackRock entering the game, and in the near future using crypto to buy a plane ticket or to invest into a luxury asset, or to participate into the decentralized economy will be as natural as using a credit card today. This is my strong belief.
Yep. No, thank you, Pierre. Appreciate it. And then Yannick, I'll let you close us out here. think you went through all the updates, but what you're excited about for the future of Kepler and for the future of this space and the aviation industry.
Yeah, so basically, I'm going to take maybe the emotion side of this. So for me, first of all, this is pleasure, this is excitement, this is passion. This is not about work. Kepler is about creating something new with a great team, a dream team, learning this team knowing aviation inside out. So if we cannot do that with this experience, it will be difficult that somebody else doing the same. The other thing is the fact that the learning curve also with something completely new to me 6 months ago that is becoming now an evidence. So obvious things to do that we need to follow up. So and this is what is my fuel. My fuel is about this. So passion, excitement, pleasure. This is not work for me. This is just an adventure.
Well, I certainly appreciate all of you guys joining me today. And as always, it's going to be super interesting to watch the MVP aspects going live. And congrats on all the recent announcements and milestones. And congrats to Julien and Virginie for onboarding into the Kepler team. And thank you, Yannick, for inviting these two to our space. It's always awesome to talk to people that have their tentacles out in a lot of traditional industry. And give Virginie a follow on LinkedIn if you want to as well. I mean, I was looking through before this to prep for the space and lots of information. But yeah, hang out with me for 1 second, guys. I'm going to end this stream and see you guys next time.